Hello, we're here in the Tally-Ho Bar and I'm here with Padraig O'Brien, the sports editor, and the Longford Slasher selector, his brother Benny. Benny, is it true the empire is finished now? Slashers are in decline?
Apparently so. That's the talk of the town. There's a lot of worry out there. Just one of those days. We didn't perform in the second half on Sunday against St Columba's, and they deserved their win. We get the opportunity, I suppose, to meet them again now in the quarter-final. But I think, and that's I suppose shows the championship format the way it was. Even if we had beaten them, we'd be playing them in the quarter-final. So, look, I'd be the first to say, and I'm sure there are people in the county board will say that the championship hasn't been a success in its format to date this year. And I think many people out there would say that the championship really only begins next weekend, that the league was all about finding positions 1 to 8. There were a lot of teams in the championship that really weren't good enough to be in it, and they'd be the first to put their hands up and say that. So it was a matter of reshuffling. Perhaps the 8th position, Mostram Drumlish, was the only position in jeopardy before the championship began. The three clubs that finished on the bottom pile of the table really weren't good enough to be in the championship. So I suppose in many ways the championship is only beginning next weekend.
Padraig, would you see the Slashers result as something of an insignificance, maybe?
No, I'd be inclined to be a small bit worried, like the injury to a couple of key players, county players, Niall Mulligan and Paul Kelly, who haven't played any games in the championship to date, and whether they play in the remaining championship remains to be seen. But Slashers were drawn against the 3 weakest teams in the early stages of the championship. They're drawn against Conley's and Ballymahan and Killishy, and won with ease, but they were never tested. And and we kind of found out now on Sunday, without a serious test, and their first serious test they failed. But as Benny has pointed out, that they now get the chance to gain revenge, and there's an old saying that it's very hard to beat the same team twice, but Mullinacht are a very aggressive team. We knocked them Gish out of the championship a couple of years ago, and it's going to be another very tough match for Slashers. Whether Slashers are on the wane remains to be seen, but I think they'll have to be back to full strength. They're going for 3 in a row. It's a serious team that wins 3 in a row. I think they'll lead Paul Kelly definitely and back, and hopefully Niall Mulligan, obviously, because Niall Mulligan has been playing great stuff for the county this year. He was in and out of the county team, and then established his place on the team through consistent performances, and a big power player. And if they're all back, then Slashers will be thereabouts. But there's emerging teams now like Killoe coming with all these young players. Mullinacht have a lot of county players, young players as well. So the scene is changing a bit.
Before we move on to discuss the quarters, you were very critical of the format so far. Do you think that's down to the draw being quite unfortunate in that respect and producing a lot of one-sided games, or do you think the format itself is just not fit?
There were a lot of mismatches, and that was always likely in the format. You could have had weaker teams playing each other and 1 or 2 of them getting through. That didn't happen, fortunately. But as Podge rightly pointed out there, Longford Slashers' first 3 games in the championship were won by 14, 16 and 18 points. Without being tested and without really showing a full hand, so to speak. I suppose the scoring difference early on in the championship, there wasn't as much emphasis put on it. It was only after the 3rd round of matches that the scoring difference was going to be hugely important in terms of positioning on the table. And before we played our last game in the league stage against Mullinacht, we knew we had to win by 14 points to top the group, and I suppose be left in the softest of the quarter-finals versus Drumlish. Without any disrespect, they only won 1 game, I think, in the qualifying phase. So look, I'm being critical of the championship because it could have happened that Killishy could have played Conley's and could have played Ballymahan or vice versa, and one of them could have got through, and it could have one of the stronger teams could have got tough games and could have been knocked out due to no fault of their own.
Do you think the championship should be reduced to maybe 10 teams or so? I mean, Killishy and then Conley's, I think, scored a combined 17 points across 4 matches. I mean, should they be in it?
Yeah, well, Conley's would hold their hand up in that respect, because there was a big doubt about them taking part at all this year with emigration and injuries, and generally crippled, with a lot of their players gone, and they wanted to get out of the senior championship. But to credit them, they went in, and as I said, they're battling out to the bitter end. In the case of Killishy, they won the intermediate championship last year. They had the right to come up. There was 5 senior clubs relegated into the intermediate championship last year, which made the intermediate championship possibly the strongest intermediate championship I have seen in a long number of years. Some very competitive games. But Killishy, probably in a safer place amazingly in the senior championship that only one goes down out of the senior championship. But personally, I think they've been trying to get 3 8s in Longford for a while now. 8 in seniors, 8 intermediate, and 8 juniors. 24 clubs in the county, and until they get that, you see, if you had 8 really strong senior teams, this system that they're on, they should work, because every game would be a tough match and be very little in. The crowds are way down. I'm not surprised. People are not going to see a match teams winning by 20 points. Half the games were ridiculously one-sided, like, you know. And the county board realise that, and they know they'll have to change that. As I say, the sooner they get teams of much the same standard in the senior championship, then the better for everybody.
A case in point, actually, to move to the intermediate championship just briefly, is that Arda looked like going out of the intermediate championship. They would have been one of the favourites before it. Now they lost 2 games by 1 point, but they had 3 tough matches in it, and they're out, and they'll feel a little bit aggrieved that the draw didn't go in their favour. That's just an example of the way this format could have worked against teams.
Were Slashers unduly phased by last weekend's result, or do you think they bounced back?
Mixed reactions, I think. Questions about our ability to see it out, but then others saying that we knew we were through before we played. We knew to top the table we had to win by 14 points. We were leading by a point at half time. Winning the second half by 13 points was probably a task that would have been beyond Longford Slashers on Sunday. You probably had to be 6 or 7 up at half time to entertain that type of a result. So, you know, there's mixed views. We can't really put our finger on it, let's be honest.
Would you say that 3 overtly easy games in the opening 3 matches contributed to you not being prepared for that type of
Well,
test?
we wouldn't have had a stiff test, and it would have left us in a disadvantageous position going into the game. But we didn't go out to lose on Sunday last, you know. We certainly went out to win the 2 points and finish up on 8 points, and that didn't happen for us. So, as Padraig said, we have a few injuries, but there are questions to be asked and answered, I suppose, over the next 2 weeks, and until we play Columbus again in the quarter final, we won't really know if we've learned from the experience of playing them, or also the fact if those 3 weaker games, we'll call them weaker games, have gone against us. We won't know until we meet them again.
Quarter-final pairings are decided not by a draw but by league table position. We'll look at the Slashers game first with you. How do you see the Slashers winning the game?
Well, as I said previously, it's very hard to beat the same team twice. I don't think there's not that much between Longford Slashers and Mullinlock. Let's say Slashers have been around a long time. I think this is they've been the last 4 out of the last 5 finals. It's a serious achievement, but to keep that going is, you know, it's a tough task. Mullinlock have been knocking at the door, as I said. They have 4 or 5 county players, like, I mean, much the same as ourselves. I say myself, it doesn't matter, Slashers, I make no excuses for that.
Can't be helped.
I'll be as neutral as I can here in this situation. I think the matches in Pearse Park, I think Slashers will definitely have to have Niall Mulligan back. They say that Paul Kelly could be out for the rest of the season if he is. That's serious. That's serious in the long term, trying to win the title. I think Slashers may just have enough with their experience and the experience of playing big games in Pearse Park to edge this one and to get to the semi-final.
Clongish sailed through the group stages. They had a number of quite easy matches, but they also beat Mullinlock. They face Drumlish, who presumably they'll come through that and face Ye in the semis, or Mullinlock then. So.
And again, I have to say it and reiterate, with no disrespect to Drumlish, to Father Manning Gales, there is no question that Clongish are among the strongest teams in the county, whereas Drumlish are in many ways up and coming and in other ways in decline in the last few years. Their younger players are just not ready. Their older players are maybe just a little bit over the top, and it's to get the balance right. It'll probably take a few more years for Drumlish, and it's not a hesitant vote. It's a very confident vote that Clongish should win that game with a bit to spare.
Kilo finished the season very well, or the first phase very well. They face Avilara now, who've maybe been mediocre so far. Do you see Kilo?
Yeah, I saw Avilara in the first game against Columkill. I was very disappointed. They lost by 8 points. Columkill have a wealth of talent as well, and there's some young players coming like Barry McKeown, super player. Kilo have Michael Quinn back, that's a big plus. He was in Australia, he's back this year now, isn't it? I think it's nearly his first championship campaign. He went early as a minor, so I've ever played senior football for Kilo until this season, senior championship football that is. And of course Sean McCormack, and he's been racking up the scores like he has been doing for the county. He scored 1-8, I think 1-7 the other night, 1-8 in the previous round, and he's going to take some stopping. But they have another guy back now, they even added their strength up front, and this is where the real Kilo strength lies. It's Mark Hughes. And Mark Hughes was on the county minor team with Leinster 2 years ago, and he's back. And they just have a wealth of young, promising underage players coming through. Now, whether they're experienced enough to actually take the title this year remains to be seen. But I definitely think they'll be good enough to beat Avilara. Now, the big if there, of course, is that Niall Sheridan will be a full forward for Abbey. He was brilliant against Ballymahan, but Ballymahan had proven that they're one of the biggest teams in the championship, so it's just very hard to gauge that particular performance. But Niall didn't start against Kilo last Sunday in the group phase, which Kilo went easy, but I wouldn't pass too much remarks on that. This is the real thing now when they play in a couple of weeks' time. But obviously, to stop Niall Sheridan, then you have to say that Kilo will probably get through with maybe 3 or 4 points this week.
Are Slashers that worried about Kilo? They look like a coming team.
We're always worried about Kilo. I'm 3 years involved with Slashers now, and Kilo have been thereabouts. They won the Leader Cup in 2010. You know, they've been massively competitive in all of their games at senior level. They don't get hammered, they never get hammered. They win games easy a lot of the time. I suppose the big occasion has let them down a few times in recent years. They've been expected to progress in the championship and have fallen at the quarter-final stage on a number of occasions in the last few years. Columkill last year caused a little bit of an upset by beating them at that stage in the competition. But they have Mickey Quinn back, they've Paddy Thompson back at midfield, as Paddy said, they've Mark Hughes back as well. They're a very good team. They're going to take some stock in this championship. They're on the other side of the draw to Slashers. I'm not sorry about that, although Clongish are on our side, so are Mullinyaghta. So it's one of the most competitive championships I believe in a long time, where I firmly believe that 5 or 6 teams in the quarterfinals, and maybe even 7, could actually win the championship, and that's something that hasn't been said in Longford in a long time.
Columkill and Dramard is the final game we're going to look at.
Yeah, that's a very interesting game. There's some great tussles between Columkill and Dramard in recent years. They met quite a number of times, and actually they met in the county final in 2007, and Columkill were kind of slight favourites into that, and but Dramard, they had been thereabouts, and they'd been in the final in 2005. They won that, and their experience showed that day. Columkill didn't really perform, very low scoring game. And Columkill came back the following year and won the county title for the first time in 50 years. And I think everybody was delighted to done that. It's a long time for Columkill, who have been producing some really class footballers over the years. And I said the one on that side is still there. This is a hard one to call now. This is an extremely hard one to call. Gary Brady is training Columkill. It's his second season, doing a great job. Kieran Fox is now in charge of the Mars, first season, and he trained the county minor team to win the Leinster 2 years ago. He's getting the best out of these guys now, and they're going to be extremely hard beaten. They have Manson McGee up front, and they've Jim McMaster there around the middle of the park, maybe centre half back, and they've James C. Martin up front as well, and they've Keane Milner, and there's plenty of good players, and there's Peter Marston there back there as well. Then you have Columkill and you have Declan Riley now. He makes Columkill take. He plays cornerback for the county, but you centre half back or midfield for Columkill, and you have all the Farrells there, and Declan and Noel, and Paul McKeown's brother Barry, he's playing up front, and as I say, this is a very hard one to call. I suppose if I had to stick my neck out, I'd go for Columkill, but I wouldn't rule out a draw on this one.
I find it hard to call that one as well, but for some reason, something tells me something about Dramard this year. I have that sneaking feeling that Kieran Fox hasn't been pushing these boys too hard in the qualifying rounds. There were 2 points up against Clongish with 15 minutes to go. Clongish came back and scored the last 6 points of the game there. A couple of switches were pivotal and worked very well for them. They drew with Columkill. They knew they were through, after round 2. And I tell you, I'll be watching Dramard.
Benny, I'll ask you about the relegation fight, because you played a number of those teams.
Yeah, we're experts in that. That only team we haven't played is Mostram.
Who were the least likely to go down?
Well, I didn't expect them, to be honest with you. Mostram had been pushing, reaching a county final in the last few years, and always put it up to the stronger teams. I was very surprised that they only beat Ballymahan by a point. I believe they kicked 19 wides in the game, and I expected that when they knew their task before they played their last game, that they would have won with a little bit to spare, but they only won by a point. But look that's the way
costly.
It was. It's very costly in that they're in the relegation zone, but I don't think they've any worries there. I don't know what way the draw works out.
They play Connolly's.
They play Connolly's. I think Mostram will beat Connolly's. Killashee will play Ballymahan. I think Ballymahan will win that one, and I think Ballymahan will obviously won't have to play again if they win their first game. That leaves Killashee and Connolly's. Well, that's probably the tightest call of the championship to date. It could go either way. It really could. I give a little hesitant vote to Killashee in that one.
What about you, Pat?
Well, this is an awkward one for me because I live in Tundra and if I had a second team it'd be Killashee. Last year was
They were your first team last year.
They won the intermediate championship. I probably celebrated more the fact that they won and my own club Slashers. But look at it was a rude awakening for Killashee moving up into the senior championship this year. They lost a number of players. Some guys, without mentioning names, are not playing with them this year, and they felt the brunt of that. They'll be playing a settled enough side now. You know, they'll be playing basically. The numbers aren't really there. That's the hard thing for the sides that are in trouble. They don't have the panels to play 4 weeks in a row. Like all these teams, 4 weeks in a row is a lot to ask of clubs in the county.
It must have been very wearying getting hammered week in week.
It was, you know, it's demoralising. But at the end of the day, like, you know, they have a match that they're capable of winning, and I think I go up any along with that. I just think Killashee might just share that, but it'll be a close call.
We turn back to the senior. Is the 3 in a row thing for Slashers? Is that something you discuss a lot? Do you try and keep it out? Is it always at the back of your mind or at the forefront of your mind, David?
Well, I put it to you like this. I suppose it was one of the reasons that we came back. You know, that we won 2 championships in a row, and why fix it if it's not broken, kind of thing. But there's been very little talk of it, really. I think each championship is an individual championship, if you know what I mean. Now 3 in a row, no more than Kilkenny going for 5 in a row a few years ago. It's a great achievement, but it's very difficult. Winning 1 was difficult. Winning 2 was extremely difficult. They get sweeter as you win them, but they get more difficult as well. To be honest with you, we're putting the last 2 years behind us. We don't even, well, we're champions for 2 years. Obviously, we acknowledge that. This is a fresh championship. 3 in a row, it only happens to be 3 in a row if you win it. But our aim is to win the championship, regardless of what we've done in the last 2 years. So it's not to the forefront of our mind, but I can guarantee if we do, it'll go down in history as 3 in a row. You know, that's the other side of it. But no, it's not a driving force for us. You know what I mean? It's not one of those things that drives us on. We're going to have to play the championship like we never won one before.
Benny, how do you think this Slashers team compares with the 3 in a row Slashers team of the early 90s? How would you assess the 2 teams?
Well, I couldn't compare them unless to do what that team done. And won 3 in a row. And that team had one particular genius playing for them. I call him that because he was a genius, Desi Barry. And Desi Barry could have been man of the match in the 3 county finals. I think he might have won I think he was man of the match. I think he might have got all 3 maybe. And if he did, then, like, I'm not saying that there was an exception of Slashers team now. Loads of experience. And we're going for 4 in a row, which I think 100 club in the county. I think Clongishton done it in the 60s. 61 or 62, 65 or whatever. That's the yardstick, I suppose. That's what we're all trying to achieve somewhere down the line. Clongishton, they have a tremendous tradition in Clongishton. Every year, you know, the green jersey, and particularly when they get to a county final. Clongishton get to a county final, very hard beaten. The Slashers found out last year. Just, you know, it's as I say, this Slashers team, they're a very good side, cannot be questioned. If they win the 3 in a row, they'll be up there definitely with the team. The last Slashers team, they won 3 in a row. And they're well balanced now. Like, I mean, they don't have a Desi Barry, but they've great balance throughout the team. And they have a bit of power as well. They're a physically strong side. And Michael Brady came back from Australia this season, and he's a big plus, you know. And then some very good Martin Neville, of course. Not about Martin, he'd be a cousin of John Neville who won the Olympic silver.
That's right.
So maybe with John winning the Olympic silver, maybe we might finish runners up, or we might go one better and get the goal.
Thanks for that,
But there's a lot of tough hurdles to be crossed before that, and particularly the very first one against Mullinatta, which, you know, that'll be, when that job is done, that's going to be tough.
Only 5 clubs have won 3 in a row in Longford in the history of the championship. It's not an easy thing to do. Granard back in the 30s, Tungish in the 60s, ourselves, Drumlish, Fallamany Gills, 96, 97, 98. It's not easy done, I'm telling you. And if you even go back and look at the amount of teams that won 2 in a row, there's probably not too many of them. But the bottom line is, as Padraig said, you can start comparing teams with teams of the past when they do achieve what teams in the past have done. And ironically, I'm moving into talking about 3 in a row now, which we don't do very much in the club. As I said, it's a championship, but it would be some achievement to do it again.
I needn't ask you who comes through your side of the draw, but who'll get through the other side for the final?
Well, I'll give you, I think the 3 that I would go for Clongish. I'm not so sure if Abilara showed their hand last weekend, but I'd still go for Kilo, but certainly not by the wide margin. I think they won by 12 points last weekend. I'd say that'll be divided by 4, probably 3 or 4 point win for Kilo there. And as I said, a hesitant but slightly confident vote for Dramard, a couple of points over Columkill.
Who do you see contesting the final panel?
Well, at the outset, when we've done the preview, like we do every year in the leader, basically meant obviously Slashers would be up there to be shot down, and did point out to Paul Kelly if he wasn't playing it, mightn't just cross the line in front this year, but said it was between the biggest dangers were Clongish and Cologne. My mind hasn't changed on that. I think the county final, I think Kilgrow will get through the county final through their half of the draw. Not to suppose the easier half of the draw, but as Benny says, to have a couple of tough matches to get through before they get that far. I mean, Kilgrow haven't been in a county final now, I think it's 16 years. They won it in 1995. It's a long time, so these guys, when the pressure comes on, will they be able to handle it? That remains to be seen. I still think it's Killow Slashers or Clongish. Take your pick. Could be a Clongish Killow final, could be a Slashers Killow final. Whatever it'll be great news for the county board, because Killow will traditionally bring a very big county final crowd. And if it's Killow and Clongish, well, that's their neighbours. Basically they're all neighbours, Slashers, Clongish and Killow. So the winner will come from one of those 3.
But I wouldn't rule out any permutation. While agreeing with Podge, the form book would suggest those 3, 2 from 3. I think any 2 from 7 could be in the final, and that's just. That sounds like giving everybody a chance, but that's been realistic. And I think Podge will agree that on their day, any club in the last 7 could beat any other club in the county. In the top 7, I should say, could beat any other club.
Yeah, because Abilara won the title in 2006. Dramard won it in 2005 and 2007. Columkill won it in 2008.
Clongish won it in 2009. Slashers in 10 and 11. So you have 6 different champions there over the last 8 years. So
there's a lot of experience.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So the cream has come to the top in a sense. What this league stage done, and as you pointed out, was about the favourite draws for the stronger sides. That all the best teams got through and got through early. I think after the second round, we knew the 7 out of the 8 was going to be, and the last position on the book should probably maybe have been Monstering, but they didn't do it. They got tougher draws. Conor Gales got through by virtue of beating Killashy, and they're in the championship quarter final. But they have a lot of young talent. I don't know if they're all playing with them now. Like there's maybe a few guys missing. They won a minor championship not so long ago. They were in the under-21 final. So the talent is in Drumlish, and maybe they deserve to be at the top table as well. So I suppose looking at that sense, then maybe we have the top 8. As say Benny said, the 7 out of 8 could win the county title. And sure, look, it isn't great that it's open. And there's not one team going to dominate it and say, well, I know who's going to win the county championship this year. And it'll bring crowds to the matches, which have been sadly missing because of the system. And we all agree that the system didn't work this year. I've been meeting a lot of supporters and giving out about it, and teams have been giving out about it. And I think the county board are even giving out about it.
Yeah, they acknowledge that they made a mistake.
Made a mistake. So I think this system is dead in the water, and whatever they do next season, whether they go back to the groups or they go back to the back door, if you win, you go through, and if you lose the first round, you get a second chance, whatever. Whether they do that, that's up to themselves. But the Longford Championship is one of the best in the country, considering the size of the county. It always gets great crowds in the latter ends, and they're double billing now at the quarter-finals, which is good, because on Sunday, September the 2nd, you're going to have Clongish, Valorant Gales, and Slashers and Mullingar. And then following Sunday, the 9th, you're going to have Cologne Abbey, and you're going to have Dramard and Columkill, and they're going to bring very big crowds. And to make it even better again, the semi-finals are going to be on the one day, 16th of September, Sunday the 16th. That's going to bring a huge crowd to the park.
With the junior
championship final. So it's triple bill. So that's they're being wise now.
Fantastic attraction.
And give them value for money.
Give them value for money. You have to give value for money in this day and age. And people are not going to run the matches. Money is tight in the whole lot, but they're not going to a match when there's 20 points in it. At least from here on in, the serious stuff now, and the match is going to be a lot tighter, a lot closer, and very little in it. And that's great for the supporters.
Well, the preliminaries are over, and the general feeling is here as the championship starts in Sunday week. Thanks, Podgy and Benny.
Thanks, Conor.